Have you ever made a really big mistake, so much so that you thought you ruined everything? Well, a lot of times when we make mistakes, we think that we've thrown everything off track, but usually the Lord has a backup plan in place to help correct the mistake that we've made and maybe make things even better afterwards. Doctrine and Covenants 10 is the closing end of the saga of the lost manuscript of the Book of Mormon. You might remember that back in Doctrine and Covenants 3 and Doctrine and Covenants 5, Joseph Smith and Martin Harris are dealing with the loss of the original manuscript of the Book of Mormon. Section 10 is a revelation where the Lord explains what the plan was behind stealing the manuscript and how he was planning to counter the effect of the loss of the manuscript. Dating this revelation is complicated. It's possible that it may have come sometime in the summer of 1828 after Joseph and Martin had lost the manuscript. But it's traditionally dated as coming in May of 1829 when Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery were continuing translation of the Book of Mormon. Either one of these dates is acceptable and fine and doesn't mess up our timeline, and it's also possible that the revelation was received in two parts, one part in the summer of 1828 and one part in May of 1829. Either way, what the revelation does is show us exactly what the plan was with the lost manuscript and how the Lord was moving to counter it. So when this revelation was first published in the Doctrine and Covenants in full, one of the things it explained was that the plan of the people that stole the manuscript was to take the manuscript, alter it, and publish it once Joseph Smith had published the Book of Mormon. Being able to produce the same text as Joseph Smith, they could claim that he had engaged in plagiarism, that he was fraudulent, and that he didn't have power to translate. And if this sounds like an outlandish plan, it's actually a plan that's been used against the church a few times. Probably the most prominent example of this happened in the 1980s when a man named Mark Hoffman, who lost his faith in the church, decided to plagiarize several church histories, make small alterations, and then publish them to cast doubt on the validity of the original manuscripts. You can see right here a document that Mark Hoffman forged of a blessing to Joseph Smith III, designating Joseph Smith III as his successor in the presidency. A simple plan like this might have been enough to throw the church off in its infancy when it wasn't well established. So rather than having Joseph Smith go back and translate the material that he'd already translated with Martin Harris, the Lord had prepared a backup plan to give us more and maybe even better material. So let's ask ourselves a couple questions. What was lost and what was gained in the midst of this plan? What was lost, Joseph Smith described as the Book of Lehi. He commonly described it as 116 pages, and it's possible that might be the exact length of the manuscript that he lost. Several scholars have pointed out that in the printer's manuscript of the Book of Mormon, the material that makes up for the lost record is 116 pages. And that means that it might be possible that Joseph Smith didn't know the length of the manuscript that was lost, and that he used the length of the manuscript that was replacing it to put it in. Other estimates have placed the lost manuscript at larger or smaller than 116 pages, but we know that the book that was lost was called the Book of Lehi and was an abridgment of the record of the early Nephites. It probably talked a little bit more about their kings and their wars and their strifes than spiritual things. What was gained was called the Small Plates of Nephi. This was Nephi's personal journal that was passed from him on to Jacob and then on to Omni and Chemish and a bunch of Book of Mormon prophets. The material in this is less about nationalities and political matters and more about spiritual things. And some of your favorite quotes from the Book of Mormon probably were made possible because the Lord initiated this backup plan. For instance, the first scripture you probably memorized in the Book of Mormon was 1 Nephi 3:7. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, said unto my father, I will go and do the things which the Lord commanded. For I know that the Lord giveth no commandments unto the children of men, save he shall prepare them for that thing, that he may accomplish the thing which he commanded them. 2 Nephi 2:25, which is the purpose of life in a nutshell. Adam fell that men might be, and men are that they might have joy, was found on the small plates. It's possible that those exquisite discourses that Lehi gave, that Nephi gave, and that these early Book of Mormon prophets wrote might not have been in our hands if it hadn't been for the loss of the manuscript. Recently, this scripture has become very important. It's in 2 Nephi 26:33, and it reads, None of these iniquities cometh of the Lord. He doeth that which is good among the children of men. And he doeth nothing save it be plain unto the children of men. And he inviteth them all to come unto him, and partake of his goodness. And he denieth none that come unto him, black and white, bond and free, male and female, and he remembereth the heathen, and all are alike unto God, Jew and Gentile. Without the lost manuscript and the Lord's backup plan to have Mormon place the small plates of the book of Nephi with the original plates that he had abridged, we might not have had any of these great scriptures. At the end result of this lesson, both Joseph Smith and Martin Harris had learned an important rule, which was, when the Lord commands, do it. They never made a big mistake like this again during the translation process of the Book of Mormon, and though everybody makes mistakes throughout their lives, the Lord has seen our mistakes in advance and knows exactly what to do to not only make up for the mistakes that we've made, but in a lot of ways have us come out better off with experience and with knowledge that we might not have had otherwise.